I'm a lean, mean speed thingy.
The Simpsons Hit Run is an open-world driving game that was developed by Radical Entertainment, published by Vivendi Universal Games, and released on the PS2, Xbox and Gamecube in September of 2003. Reviews for this title in 2003 were favourable, averaging out at 8 out of 10, and over time, positive opinions on this game don't seem to have faded, as many would still consider it the best game based on the cartoon. The premise is a bit strange, but it does give the game an excuse to have missions take place in a variety of locations with multiple characters. It opens up with a swarm of giant wasps with cameras attached to their heads descending on Springfield and spying on people, leaving members of the town curious as to who's behind this all, and the plot does not get any less quirky from there. Also, there's a plot thread centered around a conspiracy connected to Buzz Cola, and in other parts of the story it features zombies and aliens. It's sort of all over the place, but no less wacky than the show, and while the game begins with mundane tasks like driving to the Quickie Mart for ice cream, over time the missions get consistently more ridiculous, but in the case of this game, this is a positive. Now, at the time, most people referred to Hit and Run as a GTA clone, and I suppose that is kind of an accurate description. It has an open world to explore, the majority of your time will be spent driving from one point to another accepting missions from various characters, and you can even cause enough chaos to get in trouble with the police. Simpsons Hit and Run isn't as fleshed out as Grand Theft Auto, of course, but in terms of giving you a fun Springfield sandbox to play in, it does a pretty good job. The story is broken into 7 chapters where you race around the city as Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, and Apu of all people. Within each of these chapters you have a number of missions to complete, as well as optional side missions and collectibles dotted around town, such as smashing up wasps or collecting itchy and scratchy cards. As you work your way through the game, you'll also gain coins which can be used to purchase new vehicles and outfits. Almost all of the missions fall into one of a few categories, which include reaching a destination within a time limit, racing an opposing character, destroying an enemy vehicle, and collecting a bunch of items against the clock. Now, because you'll be completing these tasks as a variety of characters and in a variety of vehicles, the feeling of repetitiveness does not set in too quickly, but by the end of the game you'll most likely be ready to put it down. One of the best decisions that the developer made when creating this game was making it incredibly forgiving. I don't think I failed a single mission until close to halfway through the game, and I'm not saying that everything is too easy, because I think the light-hearted difficulty works in its favour. The driving is fairly easy to get to grips with, and the cars control well for the most part. You're not left frustrated by clunky controls, and even when you do happen to make a misstep, the time afforded to you is so generous that it's never a big deal. All of this results in a somewhat shallow experience in terms of gameplay. However, it's also a light and breezy tour of Springfield where you get to interact with a large number of well-known characters. You won't end up stuck in the same place for too long, and because the city is quite large and surprisingly detailed, you'll be seeing something new on a regular basis. In between all of the racing are rare moments of platforming, which again are very straightforward, allowing you to enjoy the short break from speeding around town. You'll also get the opportunity to enter a lot of famous Springfield landmarks such as the Simpsons home, the power plant, Moe's Tavern, and more. While there isn't a ton of things to do in these buildings, each does have its interactive elements that make them worth visiting. If you're a fan of the show, then the missions in this game are just a stress-free reference fest. If you're not a fan of the show, then all of the gags and Easter eggs obviously won't hold as much value.
Flanders, look! I found your missing stuff! Now, about the reward.
Thanks, neighbor Rooney. Here's your reward. A prayer from the Lord's #1 fan.
Not too long ago, I reviewed the Simpsons Road Rage, which was a similar game that released roughly 2 years earlier, and I commented on how well they managed to bring the city of Springfield to video game form. I'm happy to say that Hit and Run manages to do this once again, but not only with a city that feels grander in scope, but also one that feels much more alive. The cel-shaded graphics go a long way in making this feel like an authentic experience, and Springfield is just nice to look at as you drive around. Indoor and outdoor environments come with more detail than you might expect, and you don't come across many rough-looking spots at all. One aspect of the visuals that doesn't look quite right at times are the characters themselves. If I'm being honest, I'm not sure how to solve this issue, but it is slightly jarring seeing some of these characters in 3D instead of their usual 2D. From an audio perspective, it is a bit hit and miss. Most of the music that plays during the missions feels like it was pulled from a royalty-free library, which isn't distracting, but also isn't very original. The cast of the show are all here to provide plenty of decent dialogue and banter between the characters, and the writing isn't on par with the TV show, but due to the voice actor's level of delivery, you may get a chuckle or two.
I'm endorsing a new cola, kids, and this one isn't poisonous to anybody
that we know of.
After playing The Simpsons Hit and Run, I struggled to decide on a rating, as I feel it depends on what you're looking for as an individual. The game isn't massively deep, original or challenging, but it's still a fun time. If you're looking for an open world action adventure game with rewarding gameplay and an engaging narrative, then you might be in the wrong place. But if you're looking for an easygoing game that allows you to explore the city of Springfield and is packed with references to the show, then this game is possibly still your best option, even so many years later.